Good afternoon. I wanted to give you a tour of the expectations and realities of growing tropical fruit trees in the Central Valley. You know, this is roughly the middle of winter. You know, we've got maybe one more month left to go before it warms up. But this is really what you get when it comes to wintertime and growing tropicals. It's not going to look pretty. This is a Hawaiian solo. And worse, coffee tree. So this is all caused by frost. Frost damage, well, frost is really the number one reason why you don't see a lot of people plant tropical fruit trees here in the Central Valley. And this is specific to the Central Valley too. We get it the worst when it comes to frost. So the USDA provides a guideline for plants and cold hardiness. In the Central Valley, for the most part, we are in zone 9B, which means it can get as low as 25 degrees. Our winters are usually in the low 30s, high 20s. What makes the Central Valley worse is the two-leaf fog that we get in the wintertime as well. So going back to basics, frost is formed when the temperature gets so cold that the water vapor becomes liquid. And when it becomes liquid and it gets below freezing, that turns into ice, hence frost. So, and of course, tropical fruit trees, the leaves, well, all trees, the leaves have a lot of water. And what happens is when the frost forms on the leaves and the branches, it crystallizes and ruptures the cells of the foliage in the trees. So this is expected. In fact, I'll show you one here. Yeah, so a lot of these are expected. I mean, these are ultra sensitive when it comes to the frost. But at the same time, I mean, these are quite hardy when it comes to just bouncing back. So I have very high confidence that all of these will come back up. Same with tamarind here. The tamarind, although there doesn't appear to be much action right now, needs a lot of heat. Tamarinds, you normally don't see it bouncing back until like May, June, even July. I mean, this thing loves the heat. So it looks pretty dead. Same with this Barbados cherry, this heat-loving Barbados cherry. It looks pretty dead. But I'm pretty sure if I scratch it, it's still green inside, which indicates that it's still alive. In fact, let me show you what I mean by if you scratch it. So this is the carrot star fruit tree that unfortunately a lot fell on it and broke out all the branches. But I scratched it earlier today just to see what the status is. See, it's still very much alive. It is still very green. So what this tells me is as soon as the weather warms up, new shoots will branch out or shoot out and branch out and becomes whole again. So the thing with growing tropicals in the Central Valley and the frost is you are able to mostly train the plants to accept the Central Valley's cold year after year. An example is this Manila mango. It's in the ground 3 years or so. The first year and the second year, I mean, this thing kept getting beaten down. But this year, I mean, I really don't see a whole lot of frost damage. In fact, it's still growing. There's some minor frost damage, but this is expected. Same with this black sapote here. So with black sapote, the sign of a frost damage, or well, not damage, frost core, is the underlying of the leaves, underneath of the leaves. They have a tendency to go black like this. It's not an issue. This guy will bounce right back up. Yeah. Also the black sapote, I mean, year after year, I mean, when we had it in the ground for the first 2 years, it just kept getting beaten down. But then after a while, I mean, it really just gets acclimated to the Central Valley's cold and hardens itself against the cold. Basically, it knows to expect the Central Valley's cold. So, wanted to show you some signs of cold stress. When it comes to guavas, of course, one of the first things it's going to do when it becomes cold stress is the leaves are going to be reddish like this. But not to worry. If you take a look at this Ruby Supreme here, see how it's getting ready to replace these existing leaves that had damage on it. Actually, a lot of these came from a hailstorm that we had a month or so ago. So, but again, not to worry. There's new shoots that's coming out to replace the damaged leaves. And when it comes to the nonas, they have it pretty bad here in the Central Valley. This is a red Israel Edamoya. Edamoyas are supposed to be hardier than the cherimoyas. That doesn't seem to be the case from my experience for some reason. And what I mean by that is, I'll show you. These are the 3 Edamoyas. Fino de Hete, Roof Cherimoya, and Dr. White Cherimoya. I mean, these guys are great. No damage at all. Now, I'll show you some of the Edamoyas here. Gaffney Edamoya. This is what it looks like when it comes to frost damage. I mean, the crystallization of the water that's inside the leaves and on the leaves, it just basically destroys these guys. But, you know, I'm not concerned. I mean, this will bounce right back up. So, what can you do in addition to just, you know, protecting your tropicals during the winter time is when your tropicals encounter frost damage, don't prune it. I mean, it's just the damage. When you look at the banana, it's really just for aesthetics. It's not going to harm the tree any further by having it there for a brief period of time. So don't prune your damaged tree yet. In fact, the foliage, I'll show you. The foliage, yeah, don't take these out yet. Leave them here. This actually provides protection. Small, but it provides protection against future frost. Which is why you see a lot of my trees just, you know, with the leaves on like that. I mean, I've left this in here just to provide additional protection against future frost. So this morning, I mean, we got down to 29 degrees in my yard here, and looking at the forecast, we're gonna get down to 33 degrees next Thursday. So we've got a few more frosts before it actually warms up. But I wanted to take you to here's the front. So my front yard is southern facing, which means all the trees behind you get full day sun. And if you've got a southern facing yard, that is the preferred area for tropicals. But continuing on the frost damage, I mean, this is expected. I mean, the Mexican papaya is finally showing damage. But in the end, though, after maybe 2-3 years of frost damage, this is hopefully what you get. You know, after several years of the tree and plant learning to acclimate itself to the Central Valley's environment, they will start to produce fruits for you and not be as frightful of the environment. I mean, I don't know if you could see that cluster right there, but that is what's going to happen in the next 3 years with a lot of the sensitive tropical plants here in the Central Valley. So, yeah. So again, just a recap. I mean, in the Central Valley, we have it pretty bad when it comes to frost. I mean, our colds are a bit more on the extreme side, and what makes it worse is it's a bit more consistent. As in, it's not just a couple of hours with deep freeze. It goes on for 6-7 hours. I mean, my yard last night I recorded, starting at about 10 o'clock, it was 39 degrees, and then it just kept dropping every hour. So that's what makes the Central Valley's environment so much worse compared to other USDA Zone 9B regions, is really because of the fog, the Tule fog. And of course, I've told you about the water vapor, and fog is nothing but water vapor. So when there's fog and clear sky, you are going to get a lot of freezes. And specific to Central Valley, freezes and frost generally like to occur in regions of low-lying areas such as a valley, and we live in the Central Valley, so frost is something that is always going to be here. But with some patients, a lot of your tropicals eventually will acclimate themselves to the Central Valley's environment if you give it the right feeding and care that it needs. So, all right, that is it. Have a good afternoon.